lastimado en un accidente automovilístico o en un accidente de trabajo?
¿Está preocupado por su salud e ingresos debido a su accidente?
¿Inquieto por el futuro de su familia?
No está solo. Llame a las oficinas legales de Maldonado y Corbett para una consulta gratis. Infórmese antes de que sus derechos sean violados.
En las oficinas legales de Maldonado y Corbett le atenderemos 100% en su idioma.
Y recuerde, somos hispanos, somos humanos
y tenemos derechos.
Vea nuestro anuncio en el Nacional.
Empezar primero sabiendo un poco del trabajo que está realizando actualmente.
Well, right now we're working very hard on the National Defense Authorization. I'm on the Armed Services Committee, and so that is occupying an awful lot of our time with hearings, looking at what the military budget will be for the defense of our country.
¿Qué significa para usted defender pues toda esa cuestión sobre los militares?
Well, I think we've seen the threat of terror that has an awful lot of Americans very concerned. And what we've seen as a result of San Bernardino is people wonder, is our community safe? Of course, we here in Oklahoma City, we understand how devastating an act of terror can be with loss of life. So there's a lot of things that Americans are more nervous about. Our military is smaller. Oklahoma has a lot of military bases, a lot of people that serve, a lot of veterans. So these are all issues that Oklahomans care very much about.
Sabemos que hace algunos días atrás estuvo aquí en el sur de la ciudad. Coméntenos cuál fue el propósito.
Well, we try to get to all of the district, to all of the different communities, so that if people want to come and ask questions and engage, they can have a chance to talk to me one-on-one. My town halls are very open. They're not structured. I will typically answer all the questions that are asked. I take them directly from the floor. They're not canned. The people trusted me to do the job, so I should come back and answer their questions.
Sabemos que no solamente estuvo aquí, sé que estuvo en varias partes. ¿Cuál es su percepción en cuanto a la gente que asistió?
What I've seen in every town hall that we've had, the concerns are very, very similar. There is concern about our deficit spending. There's concern about the economy and our jobs and whether or not we can protect them. There is concern about Syrian refugee crisis. There's concern about ISIS. Concern about the threat of terror. And that seems to be the topics no matter where I've been in the district.
Okay. ¿Cuál es su opinión personal en cuanto a la comunidad hispana?
I think it's great. We have a very diverse metro area with Oklahoma City. We are a city of immigrants if you look at it. From our Persian population to our Lebanese population to our Taiwan population, the Chinese population, the Vietnamese population, Hispanic population, African American, Native American. Oklahoma City and the surrounding area is really an example of what America is. We are a nation with that kind of heritage.
¿Qué opina sobre las próximas elecciones presidenciales? ¿Y qué opina sobre las elecciones primarias que se dieron hace algunos días?
Well, I've stayed out of the presidential election because it is so contentious, and every voter is one of my voters, and so to have them divided over a presidential choice, the people here will get to elect who they want as president. That's that race. My hope is to maintain the trust that I've been given with being a congressman and a voice in Washington. Many people are concerned about, if this person or that person is elected, what will it mean with regard to how we view immigration, how we view, different issues. I remind everybody that Congress has the power for establishing immigration rules, not the president. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says that it is the Congress that establishes a uniform immigration rule. And so we take that very serious. And I think that we see a lot of great discussion in that regard. Sometimes it can be polarizing with the president or the presidential candidates. But rest assured, the people still have control of that through their elected representatives in Congress.
¿Qué es lo que necesita conocer la gente sobre el partido que usted representa?
Well, I think that any time that we've seen our nation in crisis, the Republican Party has been there to help solve those crises. When slavery was ended, it was the Republican Party. When the nation was reunited after a civil war, it was the Republican Party. When the first African Americans were allowed to hold a convention or be invited to the White House or to have their equal rights, the 14th Amendment, all things that we hold very dear today, all of that was done by Republicans. When women were given the right to vote, Susan B. Anthony was a Republican. When we had the civil rights movements, these were Republicans. The Freedom Riders that came on buses, they were college students, college Republicans, and they went to the South to protest the civil rights inequities. And somehow we've changed that history, and it's been as if people look at it and say, oh, you know, those things never happened, but they did happen. And I think that we have to look at it in the broad context of our country. And look, we stand for these things. We stand for a free market economy to help the small businessman and woman, which is 80% of our economy. We stand for strong families and strong social values. We stand for religious freedom and protection. And you know what? That sounds an awful lot of what people care about in the Capitol Hill area in the Hispanic community.
Okay. Ahora, sabemos que es una persona que ha pasado por mucho en la vida, obviamente hasta casi la muerte. Así que, al igual que usted, hay mucha gente que también ha pasado por mucho para llegar a este país. Sabemos que las leyes están haciendo su trabajo, pero creo que también la gente necesita un mensaje de una persona con el puesto que usted tiene.
Sure.
Un mensaje que quizás reavive sus sueños y esas metas que tienen en este país. ¿Qué mensaje les daría?
Well, the message is this, don't quit the example of what you're doing. I look at people that have immigrated to this country. As you mentioned, the rule of law is working, and I think that that's important that we stand on the rule of law. And I think everyone agrees we want and must be a nation of laws. But at the same time, there's this natural resistance that people feel when somebody maybe that doesn't speak like them or look like them comes to the United States. We've seen it here in Oklahoma City. In the 1970s, you had the Vietnamese community. They fled communism and tyranny. And there were a lot of people here that said, well, we fought those people. We don't want those people coming to our community and our neighborhood. They're just going to take our resources and take away our jobs and all of that. And just the opposite has been true. Instead, they've cleaned up an old part of town. They've created new restaurants, new doctors' offices, new lawyers' offices, new businesses. You can't earn a scholarship with your kids because their kids are earning them. They have not taken from America. They have made America better. And that's what we see here. I look around the Capitol Hill area. These are old, depressed areas, and they're being revitalized. And we're seeing small business leaders come together, and they realize the importance of that. As a soldier, more than 1/3 of the troops that I commanded in Iraq were Hispanic. We were stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. It was a geographical location that a lot of people wanted to be stationed at, and they had family ties either to Texas or in the area. And I also had 40% of the soldiers I lost were Hispanic. And so for people to say that people that are come here that are Hispanic are not giving anything to our country, my gosh, how could they say that? I think of people with the last name like Orozco and Cabral and Esparza. These were soldiers I lost. They gave more than I did for my country. They gave more for their country which was the United States of America. And so we can't look at it that way. I think it's wrong. And really what I think it is when people don't communicate and get to know one another, they have a lot of bad information.